Have you ever been blindsided by someone's cruelty, betrayed, mocked, or hurt on purpose, and wondered why it cut so deep? What if I told you their actions were never really about you, but a mirror of their own hidden darkness? In this video, we're diving into Carl Jung's profound wisdom to uncover why people hurt others intentionally and, more importantly, how you can turn their poison into your power. Through real-life stories and Jung's timeless teachings, you'll discover 5 powerful ways to heal, rise above, and thrive, making those who hurt you regret ever crossing your path, not through revenge, but through your unstoppable growth. Stick around until the end to learn how to transform pain into strength, and share your story in the comments below. Let's get started. Imagine this. You're at work, pouring your heart into a project, when a colleague, someone you trusted, publicly calls out a mistake you didn't even make, their words sharp and laced with malice. The room goes quiet, and all eyes are on you. Your stomach drops. It feels personal, like a dagger, aimed straight at your worth. But here's the truth: Carl Jung would want you to know their cruelty isn't about you. It's a window into their own unacknowledged darkness, what Jung called the shadow. In this chapter, we're diving deep into why people hurt others on purpose, how cruelty reveals the hidden parts of their psyche, and how understanding this can empower you to stop taking their actions personally. Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychologist, taught us that the shadow is the part of ourselves we refuse to face, the fears, insecurities, and flaws we bury deep because they're too painful to admit. But the shadow doesn't stay silent. When ignored, it finds a way to speak, often through destructive actions like cruelty. When someone lashes out, insults, or manipulates, they're not just attacking you, they're projecting their own inner chaos onto you. It's like they're holding a mirror up to their own unresolved pain. But instead of looking at it, they shove it in your direction. This is why cruelty feels so personal. Yet it's rarely about the victim. You're simply the canvas for their unhealed wounds. Let's ground this in a story. Meet Sarah, a vibrant woman in her 30s, who loved sharing her creative ideas with her best friend, Lisa. Sarah thought they were a team, lifting each other up. But one day, Lisa started making snide comments about Sarah's dreams, calling them unrealistic and laughing them off in front of others. It wasn't a one-time thing. Lisa's remarks grew sharper, more calculated, until Sarah felt small and doubted herself. What Sarah didn't know then was that Lisa's cruelty stemmed from her own insecurities. Lisa envied Sarah's confidence and creativity, qualities she couldn't embrace in herself. Instead of facing her own feelings of inadequacy, Lisa projected them onto Sarah, trying to dim her light to feel better about her own darkness. Jung would say Lisa's behavior is a textbook example of the shadow at work. Cruelty is the externalized language of the shadow. It's what happens when someone refuses to confront their inner fears and instead unleashes them on others. Every cruel word, every intentional jab, is a confession of what they cannot face within. The colleague who humiliated you at work, they might be terrified of their own incompetence being exposed. The friend who betrays your trust, they could be wrestling with jealousy they can't admit. The manipulator who twists your words, they're likely running from their own sense of powerlessness. Cruelty is never random. It's a symptom of an unintegrated inner life. Here's where it gets interesting. The person who hurts you often sees something in you that threatens their shadow. Maybe it's your authenticity, your strength, or your vulnerability, qualities they've buried in themselves. Jung believed the shadow envies what it cannot possess. When someone attacks you, they're unconsciously trying to destroy the qualities they wish they could embody. This is why cruelty often targets the brightest, the most genuine, the ones who shine. It's not because you're weak. It's because your light exposes their darkness. Their attack is both a weapon and an admission, a desperate attempt to avoid facing their own truth. But understanding this isn't just about analyzing the person who hurt you. It's about reclaiming your power. When you see cruelty as a reflection of their shadow, you can stop internalizing it. Their harsh words, their betrayal, their manipulation. They're not evidence of your worthlessness. They're evidence of their refusal to do the inner work Jung called for. This shift in perspective is liberating. Instead of absorbing their projections as truth, you can see them for what they are, a cry from their unhealed psyche. You become the observer, not the victim. Let's go back to Sarah. After months of Lisa's hurtful comments, Sarah stumbled across Jung's teachings and began to see the pattern. She realized Lisa's cruelty wasn't about her flaws, but about Lisa's unacknowledged envy. This revelation didn't erase the pain, but it gave Sarah a new lens. She stopped questioning her worth and started asking, "What is Lisa running from?" That question was a game changer. It allowed Sarah to step back, to stop taking Lisa's words personally, and to focus on her own growth. By understanding the shadow, Sarah took the first step toward healing. Jung's wisdom here is clear. Cruelty is a revelation, not a verdict. It reveals the inner battles of the person who harms you, not your value as a person. But it also offers you an opportunity. When you're the target of cruelty, you're being handed a chance to see through the illusion of their power. Their actions don't define you, they define them. And by recognizing this, you can begin to detach from their narrative and write your own. So, what's the key takeaway? Cruelty is never about your worth. It's about their shadow. When someone hurts you on purpose, they're exposing their own unhealed wounds, projecting their fears and insecurities onto you. By understanding this through Carl Jung's lens, you can stop carrying their pain and start reclaiming your power. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to practice conscious detachment, how to step back from their manipulation without losing yourself. Stay with us, because this is where you start turning their cruelty into your strength. Picture this. Your boss sends you a scathing email, criticizing your work in front of the entire team, their words dripping with disdain. You feel the heat rising in your chest, the urge to fire back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But what if, instead of reacting, you chose to step back, not out of weakness, but with deliberate, unshakable strength? This is the power of conscious detachment, a principle rooted in Carl Jung's wisdom that lets you break free from the emotional traps others set for you. In this chapter, we'll explore how to stop letting cruelty control your reactions, how to protect your peace, and how to reclaim your power by refusing to play their game. Carl Jung's teachings remind us that our reactions often come from unexamined parts of ourselves, our triggers, our wounds, our need for validation. When someone hurts you on purpose, whether through insults, manipulation, or betrayal, they're banking on your reaction. They want your anger, your tears, or your defensiveness, because those responses give them power. They thrive on pulling your strings, knowing they've gotten under your skin. But conscious detachment flips the script. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about choosing not to let their cruelty dictate your inner state. It's about saying, "My peace is mine, and you can't have it." Let's dive into a real-life example. Meet James, a graphic designer in his late 20s, who worked under a toxic manager named Karen. Karen had a habit of belittling James in meetings, questioning his talent in front of colleagues with a smirk. as if daring him to snap. At first, James would argue back, spending hours crafting perfect comebacks, only to feel drained and defeated. The more he reacted, the more Karen seemed to revel in her control. Then James discovered Jung's idea of conscious detachment. Instead of taking the bait, he started observing Karen's behavior as if he were a scientist studying a specimen. He noticed her jabs often came after she'd been criticized by her own boss. Her cruelty wasn't about James. It was her way of deflecting her own insecurity. This shift in perspective changed everything. James began to pause before responding, taking a deep breath and asking himself, "Is this worth my energy?" Most of the time, it wasn't. By refusing to engage in Karen's drama, he stopped giving her the reaction she craved. Over time, her attacks lost their sting. She grew frustrated, her barbs falling flat, because James's calm detachment denied her the power she sought. He wasn't avoiding her, he was choosing to protect his energy for what mattered: his creativity, his growth, his peace. Jung's concept of individuation, the journey to becoming your true, whole self, ties directly to conscious detachment. To detach consciously, you must first understand your own triggers. What makes you react? Is it the fear of being seen as incompetent, the need to be liked, the pain of rejection? These are the entry points others exploit when they hurt you. Jung taught that by bringing these triggers into awareness, you weaken their hold over you. You start to see that the anger or hurt you feel isn't created by the other person, it's awakened within you. That pause, that moment of awareness, is where your power lies. It's the space where you decide, "I won't let their cruelty pull me into their chaos." Here's how conscious detachment works in practice. Let's say a friend spreads a rumor about you. Knowing it'll hurt, your instinct might be to confront them, to demand an explanation, or to stew in resentment. But conscious detachment asks you to pause and observe. What are they trying to achieve? Are they projecting their own guilt or insecurity? By seeing their actions as a reflection of their inner struggle, you can choose not to take it personally. Instead of firing back, you might respond with calm curiosity, asking, "What's going on with you?" Or you might choose silence, redirecting your energy to something that serves you, like a new project, a workout, or time with people who lift you up. This isn't avoidance. It's a deliberate choice to protect your inner world. The beauty of conscious detachment is that it's not just a shield, it's a rebellion. When you refuse to react, you deny the person who hurt you the satisfaction of control. They expect you to crumble, to chase their approval, or to fight back. When you don't, their power dissolves. Jung would argue this aligns with the process of integrating your shadow. By facing your own triggers, you stop projecting your pain back onto others, breaking the cycle of reactivity. You become the one in control, not because you dominate them, but because you master yourself. Let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean you become cold or numb. You still feel the sting of their words, the weight of their betrayal, but you don't let those feelings own you. You observe them, acknowledge them, and let them pass without dictating your actions. This is what makes conscious detachment so powerful. It's not about suppressing emotion, but about choosing how you respond to it. In James's case, he still felt the frustration of Karen's attacks, but he stopped letting it define his day. He redirected his energy to his designs, earning praise from clients and building a portfolio that opened new doors. Karen's cruelty became irrelevant, not because James stopped caring, but because he stopped letting her control him. So, what's the takeaway? Conscious detachment is your key to reclaiming power from those who hurt you. By pausing, observing, and refusing to engage in their manipulation, you protect your peace and deny them the reaction they crave. Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that true strength lies in mastering your inner world, not in winning external battles. In the next chapter, we'll dive into silent strength, how staying calm and composed can unsettle those who try to bring you down. Stay with us, because this is where you start building a strength they can't touch. Have you ever noticed how the loudest person in the room is often the least secure? They shout. They accuse. They throw sharp words to dominate, hoping their noise will drown out their own doubts. But what if real strength doesn't roar? What if true power lies in staying calm, unshaken, and composed when someone tries to tear you down? This is the essence of silent strength, a principle Carl Jung's teachings illuminate as a quiet rebellion against cruelty. In this chapter, we'll explore how your composure can become your greatest weapon, how staying steady disarms those who hurt you, and how embracing this silent power aligns with Jung's vision of inner resilience. Carl Jung believed that true strength comes from self-knowledge, from aligning with your authentic self rather than chasing external validation. When someone attacks you, whether it's a biting insult, a public humiliation, or a calculated betrayal, they expect you to react. They want your outburst, your defense, or your collapse, because those reactions confirm their influence over you. But silent strength flips this dynamic. It's the calm gaze that unsettles, the steady presence that refuses to be rattled, the quiet resolve that says, "You don't get to control me." By choosing composure over chaos, you deny them the power they seek, forcing them to face their own unresolved shadows. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Emily, a 35-year-old teacher who faced relentless criticism from her mother-in-law, Diane. Every family gathering, Diane would make snide remarks about Emily's career choice, her parenting, even her appearance, always with a smile that masked her venom. At first, Emily would bite back, defending herself with sharp retorts, only to leave feeling drained and small. The arguments gave Diane fuel. She thrived on Emily's reactions, using them to assert control. Then, inspired by Jung's teachings, Emily tried a different approach: silence. The next time Diane threw a jab, Emily simply smiled, nodded, and changed the subject. No argument, no defense, just calm, composure. Diane's smirk faded. Without Emily's reaction, her cruelty had nowhere to land. Over time, Diane's attacks grew weaker, her words losing their edge, because Emily's silent strength exposed the emptiness of her aggression. Silent strength isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending the hurt doesn't exist. It's about channeling your energy inward, choosing when and how to respond, rather than reacting impulsively. Jung's concept of individuation, the journey to integrate all parts of yourself, including your shadow, teaches that composure comes from knowing who you are. When you're secure in your own worth, you don't need to shout to prove it. You don't need to argue to validate your value. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting the attacker's insecurities back at them. They lash out expecting chaos, but your calm presence forces them to confront the hollowness of their words. Here's how silent strength works in practice. Imagine a coworker who constantly undermines you in meetings, throwing subtle digs to make you look incompetent. Your instinct might be to call them out, to match their aggression with your own. But silent strength asks you to pause and observe. Instead of engaging, you maintain your focus, deliver your work with confidence, and let your results speak for themselves. Over time, their attacks start to look desperate, their words falling flat against your unshakable presence. By refusing to be drawn into their drama, you preserve your energy and let their own behavior expose them. Jung would say this is the power of aligning with your true self. You don't need to fight their battles because you're already grounded in your own. Silent strength also transforms the way others perceive you. When you respond to cruelty with composure, you radiate authenticity. People notice. They see someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't need to prove themselves because their strength is self-evident. This quiet power unsettles those who rely on noise to feel secure. In Emily's case, her family began to admire her restraint. Her husband noticed how Diane's attacks seemed petty in the face of Emily's calm confidence. Even Diane, though she'd never admit it, started to back off. Her barbs losing their bite because Emily refused to fuel them. This kind of strength is deeply rooted in endurance. Jung taught that the path to wholeness requires facing life's challenges with resilience, not by overpowering others, but by standing firm within yourself. Silent strength is the discipline to keep going despite pain, to hold your ground without fanfare, to let your actions speak louder than any words could. It's not about winning an argument, it's about winning your own peace. When you embody this, those who hurt you are left with nothing but their own unresolved shadows, their attempts to dim your light fading into irrelevance. Let's be clear. Silent strength isn't passivity. It's not about letting cruelty go unchecked or allowing others to walk over you. It's about choosing your battles with precision, acting from a place of clarity rather than reaction. When you move from silent strength, your actions carry weight. A single, well-timed response delivered with calm conviction can be more powerful than a dozen heated arguments. In Emily's case, when she finally spoke up to Diane, it wasn't with anger, but with quiet resolve. I respect your opinion, but I'm proud of who I am. That simple statement, grounded in her strength, left Diane speechless. It wasn't loud, but it was undeniable. So, what's the key takeaway? Silent strength is the power to stay composed when others try to break you, to let your calm presence disarm their cruelty. Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that true power doesn't need to shout, it radiates from within. Rooted in self-knowledge and resilience, by refusing to react, you force those who hurt you to face their own shadows, while you preserve your energy for what truly matters. In the next chapter, we'll explore integrity, how staying true to your core values can protect you from cruelty and build an unshakable foundation. Stay with us, because this is where you start crafting a life they can't touch. What happens when someone tries to tear you down, to make you doubt who you are? Their words, their actions, they're designed to pull you away from your truth, to make you question your worth. But there's a force within you, unyielding and powerful, that refuses to bend your integrity. Carl Jung taught that integrity isn't just about doing the right thing, it's about staying whole, aligning your actions, words, and values with the deepest parts of yourself. In this chapter, we'll explore how living with integrity shields you from cruelty, anchors you in your authentic self, and builds a foundation so strong that no one's malice can shake it. When you stay true to your core, you don't just survive, you thrive. Jung's philosophy centers on the idea of individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating all parts of yourself, light and shadow, into a cohesive whole. Integrity is the backbone of this journey. It's the commitment to live in alignment with your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs you. When someone hurts you on purpose, whether through betrayal, mockery, or manipulation, they're often trying to fracture your sense of self. They want you to betray your values, to react in ways that don't feel like you, to compromise who you are, to fit their narrative, but integrity is your refusal to let that happen. It's the quiet, unshakable resolve to stay true to your core, no matter what. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Alex, a 40-year-old small business owner who faced pressure from a group of industry peers to cut corners on a major project. They mocked his commitment to ethical practices, calling him naive and out of touch in a group chat that was accidentally sent to him. The sting of their words was sharp. Alex felt isolated, tempted to go along with their shady tactics just to fit in. But something inside him resisted. Inspired by Jung's teachings, Alex realized that compromising his principles would mean betraying himself. Instead, he doubled down on his values, delivering a project that was honest, high quality, and true to his vision. His peers' ridicule faded when clients praised his work, and Alex's business grew stronger than ever. By staying true to his core, he not only protected his peace, but also built a reputation that his critics couldn't touch. Integrity, in Jung's view, is about wholeness. It's about ensuring that your words match your actions, that your actions reflect your values, and that your values align with your true self. When you live this way, you eliminate the inner conflict that cruelty tries to exploit. People who hurt you often rely on your insecurities, hoping you'll abandon your principles to gain their approval or avoid their scorn. But when you're grounded in integrity, their attacks lose their power. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't need their validation. They can't break someone who is whole within themselves. Here's how integrity works in practice. Imagine a friend who constantly belittles your dreams, telling you they're unrealistic to make themselves feel better. The pressure to agree, to shrink your ambitions, can feel overwhelming. But integrity means standing firm in your truth. You might calmly say, "I appreciate your perspective, but I believe in my path." Or you might choose silence, letting your actions, your progress, your persistence speak for you. Either way, you're not bending to their narrative. You're honoring the voice within that knows who you are and what you stand for. Jung would say this is how you integrate your shadow, by acknowledging the temptation to compromise, but choosing authenticity instead. Integrity also transforms how you relate to others. When you live with integrity, you create a ripple effect. People sense your authenticity, your refusal to play games or wear masks. This clarity attracts those who value truth and repels those who thrive on manipulation. In Alex's case, his commitment to integrity not only earned him respect from clients, but also inspired his team to adopt the same values. His peers, who once mocked him, found themselves sidelined as their shortcuts led to scandals. Integrity became Alex's shield and his legacy, proving that staying true to yourself is more powerful than any temporary approval. This isn't to say integrity is easy. It takes courage to stand by your values when the world or someone's cruelty pushes you to compromise. Jung taught that the shadow often tempts us to betray ourselves, to take the path of least resistance. But every time you choose integrity, you strengthen your inner foundation. You build a self that doesn't rely on external validation, a self that can weather any storm. When you live this way, cruelty becomes like rain on a sturdy roof. It might make noise, but it can't get inside. Integrity also connects to Jung's idea of facing the shadow. When you refuse to compromise your values, you're doing the inner work of acknowledging your own fears and weaknesses without letting them control you. The person who hurts you might project their shadow onto you, but by staying true to your core, you show that you're doing the work they avoid. This contrast is powerful. It highlights their fragility while showcasing your strength. Your integrity becomes a mirror, reflecting their unresolved conflicts back at them. So, what's the key takeaway? Integrity is your anchor when cruelty tries to pull you off course. By staying true to your values, you protect your peace, build an unshakable foundation, and live in alignment with your authentic self. Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that integrity isn't just about morality, it's about wholeness, about refusing to let others' malice fracture who you are. In the next chapter, we'll explore transformation, how to turn the pain of cruelty into the fuel for your greatest growth, making those who hurt you regret it, not through revenge, but through your unstoppable rise. Stay with us, because this is where you turn their poison into your power. What's the most powerful way to respond when someone hurts you on purpose? It's not shouting back, not plotting revenge, not even proving them wrong in the moment. The deepest, most unshakable response is transformation, turning their cruelty into the fuel that propels you to become stronger, wiser, and more authentic. Carl Jung's teachings show us that pain, when faced with courage, can become the catalyst for your greatest growth. In this final chapter, we'll explore how to transform the wounds of betrayal, mockery, or manipulation into the foundation of your rise. This is the ultimate revenge, not because you harm them back, but because you thrive in ways they never expected, leaving their cruelty powerless. Jung's concept of individuation, the journey to become your whole. True self teaches that every challenge, including pain, is an opportunity to grow. When someone hurts you intentionally, they expect you to stay broken, to carry their wound as your identity. They want you to be defined by their betrayal, to remain stuck in the story they wrote for you. Transformation flips this narrative. It's the act of taking their poison and turning it into medicine, using their cruelty as the spark that ignites your evolution. By doing this, you don't just heal, you surpass the limits they tried to impose, showing them that their attempt to break you only made you stronger. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Mia, a 28-year-old aspiring writer who fell in love with someone who seemed perfect until he wasn't. After a year together, her partner, Ethan, betrayed her trust, cheating and then blaming her for his actions, saying she wasn't enough. The pain was crushing. Mia felt her confidence shatter, her dreams of writing fading as she questioned her worth. But then she stumbled across Jung's ideas about transformation. Instead of letting Ethan's betrayal define her, Mia decided to channel her pain into her passion. She poured her emotions into her writing, creating stories that resonated with raw honesty. 2 years later, Mia published her first book, a powerful exploration of heartbreak and healing that touched thousands of readers. Ethan, seeing her success, reached out, expecting her to still be broken. Instead, he found a woman who had transformed her pain into purpose, her wounds into wisdom. Mia's rise wasn't about getting even. It was about becoming unstoppable. Transformation begins with facing the pain head-on. Jung taught that avoiding your wounds only strengthens their hold over you. When someone hurts you, it's tempting to bury the pain, to pretend it doesn't exist, or to lash out in retaliation. But transformation requires you to acknowledge the wound without letting it consume you. It means sitting with the anger, the grief, the betrayal, and asking, what can this teach me for Mia? It meant recognizing that Ethan's actions reflected his own unresolved shadows, not her value. By seeing this, she stopped internalizing his cruelty and started using it as fuel. Her pain became a teacher, guiding her toward deeper self-awareness and creative expression. This process isn't easy, but it's powerful. Transformation turns anger into clarity, showing you what boundaries to set. It turns grief into wisdom, helping you understand what truly matters. It turns betrayal into resilience, teaching you to trust yourself even when others let you down. Jung would say this is the essence of integrating your shadow, taking the dark, painful parts of your experience and weaving them into your growth. Every scar becomes a symbol, not of defeat, but of survival and strength. Those who hurt you expect those scars to mark your ruin. Transformation makes them badges of honor, proof that you rose above. The beauty of transformation is that it shifts the balance of power. Cruelty is designed to control, to make you feel small, to keep you tethered to the person who hurt you. When you transform, you break that tether. You show that their actions couldn't define you, that their attempt to dim your light only made it burn brighter. This is what makes transformation the ultimate revenge, not because you sought to harm them, but because your growth renders their cruelty irrelevant. In Mia's case, her success didn't just surprise Ethan, it exposed his powerlessness. He expected her to stay broken. Instead, she became a force he couldn't touch. Transformation also has a ripple effect. When you rise from pain stronger than before, you inspire others. Your story becomes a beacon for those struggling with their own wounds, showing them that cruelty doesn't have the final word. Jung believed that the individuated self, the self that has faced its shadows and grown, radiates authenticity that changes the world around it. Mia's book didn't just heal her, it touched readers who saw their own struggles in her words. Her transformation became a quiet rebellion against the idea that cruelty wins, proving that pain can be the beginning of something extraordinary. So, what's the key takeaway? Transformation is the ultimate revenge, because it turns the pain of cruelty into the fuel for your greatest growth. Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that by facing your wounds and using them to evolve, you rewrite the story others tried to write for you. You don't just survive, you thrive, becoming a version of yourself so powerful that those who hurt you are left with nothing but regret. As we wrap up, we'll head to the outro, where we'll tie everything together and show you how to start this journey today. Stay with us, because your transformation begins now. You've just walked through a journey inspired by Carl Jung's timeless wisdom, learning how to turn the pain of cruelty into your greatest strength. From understanding that their harsh words reveal their own hidden shadow, to mastering conscious detachment, embracing silent strength, standing firm in your integrity, and ultimately transforming pain into power, you now have the tools to rise above anyone who tries to bring you down. This isn't just about surviving their cruelty. It's about thriving in a way that makes their actions irrelevant. You're not defined by their betrayal, their mockery, or their malice. You're defined by the unstoppable force you become when you choose growth over bitterness. Carl Jung taught us that the path to wholeness individuation isn't about avoiding pain, but using it as a teacher. Every wound, every moment of hurt, is an invitation to know yourself deeper, to stand taller, to become more you. Those who hurt you wanted to write your story's ending, but you're writing a new chapter, one where their cruelty becomes the spark that ignites your transformation. So, let their regret be the proof that they underestimated you. Let your rise be the evidence that no one can dim your light when you choose to shine. Now it's your turn. Take these lessons and start applying them today. Pause before you react. Stay true to your values, and let every scar fuel your growth. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share which of these strategies resonates most. Or tell us about a time you turned pain into power. Your story could inspire someone else watching this. If this video spoke to you, hit that like button, subscribe to Jung Psyche Hub, and ring the bell so you never miss our weekly dives into the wisdom of Carl Jung. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because together, we're building a community of growth, resilience, and authenticity. Thank you for watching. And remember, Your greatest revenge is becoming unstoppable. See you in the next video.